Tunic is better than The Legend of Zelda. Now that I have your anger and attention, let me explain what I mean by this. Tunic is an indie game published by Finji Studios, released on March 16, 2022. This game, just by looking at the cover, you can tell the team was inspired by The Legend of Zelda. So why am I saying it's better when they took inspiration from it? Wouldn't that mean that The Legend of Zelda is the foundation for this game? While true, let's dive into why I am saying this. Let's start with the story. So this game has a general plot, but the story is kind of complex. As you start the game, right away it pans through a part of the world you are going to explore and find your character passed out on the beach. Your character gets up and now you have no direction. The game does not tell you where to go. The game only has one path leading up some ramp. Without telling you outright, they kind of nudge you to go in a certain direction. You find a doorway that leads to a treasure chest. With the first treasure, you are now able to explore the world free to your heart's desire. Reading signs doesn't really tell you anything. At points you can maybe find certain clues, but nothing is outright stated to you. This is where the mix of storytelling and gameplay becomes intertwined. Tunic's story is there, but you are never really certain on what is going on. There are cutscenes in this game, but your character is never explicitly told anything. Everything the player sees can be interpreted in different ways, and because of that, it drives the player to have this sense of curiosity. Since you really aren't too sure what is going on, it may seem like the story was just an afterthought, but it's not. Tunic shows its story to the player in three main ways: the cutscenes, setting of the environments, and the Tunic manual pages. Nowadays, most video game manuals are digital. They aren't really that in depth, they're just there. Tunic takes its manual and runs with it. Across your journey, you will find these mysterious looking glowing items. When you try to pick it up, the strange language you've been seeing on signs appears again, with your only options being okay and no. If you pick okay, you pick up one of the pages for Tunic's manual, and here is where you will really start to see the story unfold. One of the first pages you pick up teaches you how to play the game, but as you explore the areas across the game, you find more pages. These pages not only teach you about mechanics in the game, but also give you a general idea on where to go. You don't necessarily have to follow the hints exactly. It is possible to figure things out before the game shows you and do some sequence breaking. This is how much freedom Tunic can give you. While there still does seem to be an intended way to do things, my first, second, and third playthroughs were all different in the way I approached it. I avoided using the Holy Cross, a mechanic more important later, but Tunic's manual and cutscenes are the way its story guides you, so players are never fully lost. Regardless if you decide to pick up the pages and head to the forest right away, or decide to approach the giant doorway first, the game will hint towards your objective, giving the player the idea to explore wherever your heart tells you to go. This nudge to explore is one of Tunic's strong suits. Constantly, you walk around and discover what the world has in store. You can find broken structures, checkpoints, or as I thought of them, as prayer statues, the heroes' fallen graves, a house, a windmill, and it just makes you wonder, why are they here? Who made these? Then you have more serious elements like this corruption goo, these corrupted creatures, guardians to these stones. It makes you wonder what has happened in this world. Your curiosity can not only pinpoint you to lore elements, but can also be the context clues you need on which areas to go. It is totally possible to ignore everything and just explore on your own, but that discovery of its lore is insane. It always seems like there's something more to it. Who is this fallen hero? Why was this fox sealed? Who does this house belong to? And so many questions that are never outright told to you, but you can try and piece together. This can leave the story up to your own interpretation. My interpretation was that a young fox is trying to save their mom. I mean, I could be wrong, but when I unsealed a bigger fox and they were wearing the exact same outfit as me and looked like me, I thought it was my mom. But the story can be interpreted as you see fit. There is a general consensus that has been established for this game's lore and story, but one of the things that I was taught in literature was something like this, and I quote, "Any work of art can be interpreted in many different ways. In order for you to interpret it that way, all you need is evidence to support your interpretation." End quote. Mind you, this was a saying for writing essays, and I wanted a good grade, so I wrote whatever the fuck I came up with. But if we grab this statement, we can see that in Tunic, the best ending made me think I rescued my mom. And with the pages you find, I figured your character has been trying for ages. The story is not concrete, and the developers encourage you to make your own interpretations of the world and character. Not only do they let you change the appearance of the fox, but they left the foxes genderless so players can feel better attached to this character. I pictured it as a girl trying to rescue her mom. Some of the saints also saw it as a girl, but some of them saw it as a dude. My favorite interpretation online was that its gender is just small fox. Perfection. The developers left small things like this ambiguous so players can figure out what it entails, and even now I want to play it again just to see exactly what has happened here, but I may see details differently this time around. My curiosity drives me to see more, and every player can have their own interpretation of its lore. These pages really dive into the lore, and finding them almost feels like a reward for exploring. Honestly, diving into it would take the charm out of it, but it really adds to the enjoyment. There is an overall plot that guides you towards the golden path you may embark on. Alright. Let's continue the main plot. I got a little sidetracked. As you explore, you find this door, and approaching it leads you to a different world where you see a fox sealed in this prison, or maybe a key. You need to ring bells to open the door. Then, once you do that, you need to find 3 stones to break the seal. Then all of a sudden, you meet with the big fox, and oh shit, hey, what the I am trying to save your ass! As you wake back up, you are back at the beginning, but you are half of your former self in a different world. After restoring your attributes and finding teleporters to restore your character, or don't, you can continue without it, you can fight the bigger fox, and when you defeat it, your fox takes his place and is now sealed, with the credits being empty, just showing an empty world and the music being tense and somber. Which is crazy because you wonder, was I meant to do this? Was this a good thing? Did I just unleash an evil being to the world? But it was helping me, and it gave me some more health and another fighting chance. Was it really my mom? Was this destined to happen? Since you were never explained anything, the story can have you thinking so much, like, what are these corrupted fox things in these metal boxes? What is this goo that is corrupting me? Is this what happened to those fox creatures? Wait, if that's the case, are these corrupted foxes? The hero's grave is also a fox. It has the same power up I have. Is that me? Or wait, am I racist? The pages say this has been a battle for the ages, so how many times have I failed? The manual even says, again, the same battle fought uncountable times. Is this grave mine or someone else's? Also, these other foxes, did they die trying to rescue this fox? Did they also explore the dungeons before me? Or were they casualties of war, or the souls of the corrupted foxes? And what? Is that me? What the fuck? This game leaves you wondering, what do I really know? What am I not seeing? There are translated pages of the Tunic manual online, but I view this from my perspective, so I am left to try and figure it out since the manual only has some words in your language. In my case, it's English. This makes it so you really are piecing everything slowly together at your own pace, and you are left to wonder, yet this wonder can also drive you to find all the manual pages because you want to learn more. And this is where the investigating becomes a double-edged sword, because the manual shows you clues on the world around you and can be that push to go somewhere, but finding all the manual pages is actually required to get the best ending. Now, finding most pages is not a problem. It's the last ones that will give you problems, because now you have to use the Holy Cross on certain parts of the map. You could figure out that the Holy Cross is just the D-pad, since that is almost told to you in one of the pages, but some of the puzzles can be very time-consuming. They can also require an almost detective-like set of skills to discover. Some of these can get very complex, but discovering all the manual pages gives you all the info you need to piece together this world's story and try to come up with your own conclusion. It still may not be enough, but you can piece what you are able to and try to figure it out. When I found the pages, I have no shame to admit I used a guide, but I had lots of fun looking for them. I did do some of them on my own, but some were just way too complex or time-consuming. However, now that you have the complete manual, you present it to the fox who gets restored, and it looks just like your fox, and the game ends with the original credits showing the world, but now it's you and that other fox together in the world, with the music feeling more peaceful, more at ease, happier. It makes you feel as if you just rescued somebody and can live peacefully again. This is where I thought it was my mom because of the credits and music. Tunic not only presents a story to you, but the story of a lost world without telling it to you. It makes you look for it if you want to, but if you don't, then you can just ignore it. The game doesn't force you to take part in it. You can just explore the dungeons and overworld and never once think about what is happening. This is why I say this game is better than The Legend of Zelda. Besides maybe Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, even then, there are things still told to you in those games. No Zelda game has made you piece things together like this. Most of the time, the story is told to you via text boxes tutorials or cutscenes. Tunic doesn't do that. It shows you clues or just presents the world to you, and that's it. But in doing so, it makes you curious, makes you want to discover more. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. You could play the game. That means you can ignore them and just play the game as a regular dungeon explorer. Tunic was very much inspired by The Legend of Zelda, so exploring dungeons in the overworld is what the general gameplay foundation is. Across the overworld, there will be areas you can't explore just yet, but as you progress and acquire more items, you will be able to explore more of this world, letting you see the progression you are making. As you explore, you will come across enemies. Fighting enemies is the best way you will get gems to use in the shop or to upgrade. To fight enemies, you can lock onto them, which focuses your camera on the enemy, and you can use different items to defeat them, but mainly you will be using a sword or a stick. It's a really nice stick. Just hit the enemies to knock down their damage and defeat them. As the game progresses, the enemies will get harder, so plan your attacks accordingly. You have different maneuvers to dodge and fight enemies. The shield bash, just like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. If you time it just right, the enemy will get stunned, leaving them open for a barrage of attacks, or launch their projectiles back at them. This bash is way slower than in those Zelda games, so here you have to time it just right. If not, it will leave your character open to attacks, since it is way harder to pull off. However, if you do happen to time it right, it's so satisfying. Suck it, bitch. You can also just dodge outright. By pressing the A button, your fox will dodge in the direction you are holding towards. This is a great way to fight back, since at specific frames you are even invincible. Later, when you get the hero's laurel, or the flower crown as I thought it was, you can teleport out of the way, making you move faster and becoming much more versatile. But be careful, when you are out of stamina, not only will you have a harder time attacking, when enemies hit you, they will cause more damage and you can't really block or dodge anymore. Okay, you can have the items you find on the face buttons. Any item you find can be designated to these buttons. As you start, you can just have a stick. That's literally all you got, but it's a really nice stick. But later you can find a sword, which will be your main item. As you continue, the items will be more plentiful. A magic orb acting as a hook shot, a magic dagger that freezes things, a fire wand that launches fireballs, or even a gun.
We need to talk. What is that?
Yes, it's a gun. You can find bombs, little fox vases that give you gems, a coin for the wishing wells, a fox decoy, which is very powerful against bosses. It literally has enemies target the decoy, and items to upgrade your health, magic, attack, defense, potions, and stamina. The prayer statues you find will let you upgrade these attributes to strengthen your little fox. Using some items requires magic, and that is where you have to be careful, because when you run out of magic, that's it until you reach another statue. Some enemies can also drop magic points to continue the magic, but only some of them. However, the magic items can be very powerful. They can do a lot of damage or work as crowd control. Bombs are also items you can use that do not have a meter. As long as you have some in your inventory, you can use them. The game also gives you a bonus after using enough of them. The manual even tells you to do that. It says not to be afraid to use them, rewarding you for using the bombs. However, when you run out of bombs, you have to find more or purchase them at the shop. The other thing about bombs is that if you use them at a boss area or just an area in general and die, you don't get those bombs back, which makes me not want to use them unless I know I really should. But again, the more you use them, the more bomb bonus you get, meaning even at 0 you will have more bombs. You also have this slow down hourglass, but I never really used it. While you have all this, you may be dying across your journey, but to even it out, when you die you also leave an echo of soul. The echo lets you get some gems back, but can actually be used as crowd control too. By approaching it and activating it, they damage enemies and somewhat stun them, somewhat helping you after death. These are the items and abilities that you will be able to use in combat or throughout your journey, but other items exist to help you. Before we jump to those other items, the combat here is fun. It is really fun. It is simple yet satisfying to pull off. That's how the fighting is, but what if I want some buffs and debuffs? Well, that's where the cards come in.
Charge the playing cards. Make them go boom.
These special cards give you certain attributes that can be found throughout the world. The game kind of tells you what they do, but you may need to look online because sometimes it's kind of confusing. Some of them help you in defense, some increase your attack power, some give you buffs at low health, one lets you get close to the corruption goo, one changes how stealthy you can be, and another lets you change your drinking containers from health to magic. These cards can be used only one at a time, but with the coins you find, you can toss them in the well and eventually will be able to use 2 or more. These cards can become helpful throughout your journey. Also, the last item you will find that I briefly mentioned are the healing potions. These can be found across the world, either a full potion or broken ones that you can complete to a full one. These items can let you heal at any moment you are in during a fight or after, and they refill after every prayer statue. These potions are great because while enemies don't drop health unless you equip a specific card, these potions can be a massive help since you can choose when to heal and not worry about when an enemy will drop health, leaving the healing be at your pace. While you can heal at any time, this game can be pretty hard. You will die and the game knows that. After your first death, they drop some hints to the lore, but let you jump back at your most current save. The game is challenging, but at not one point did I feel like the game was cheap. At every instant, I knew I could beat the bosses, enemies, and get through this game no matter what was happening. It never felt like it was the game's fault, and because of the story, I felt like, yes, it's happened before, but I'm gonna keep trying until I succeed. The fox has been trying for ages, so I am gonna keep trying. It is a story of never giving up no matter what, and it fueled me to have this belief while playing the game. The world I am exploring, this character I am playing as, made me want to keep exploring and playing. It made me want to keep trying no matter what. This world I am exploring, this character I am playing as, made me want to keep exploring and playing. The combat is simple but fun, rewarding experimentation and exploration. The game's lore increases your enjoyment. This is a game that found a way to use story to make you feel great while also making you enjoy the combat, because doing these maneuvers is so satisfying. But when I die, I remember this has happened before and it may happen again, but no, I am not going to give up. Let's keep trying, and the music adds to this feeling too. Every piece of music not only hits you with this wonder and curiosity, but also this serenity of emotion depending on the area. The soundtrack is beautiful. Props to the composers Janice Kwan and Lifeform. They did amazing. The music is so well done. Even the credits hit you with such strong emotion, one filled with anxious wonder of what did I just do, and the other being a peaceful resting peace where I can finally rest again. Everything about this game hit all the right notes for me. Trying to learn the lore and investigating this world, exploring the dungeons and overworld, fighting enemies, experimenting with items, experimenting with cards, and discovering what I haven't seen. The biggest downside can be the nature of its lore, specifically in the end of the game. Since the game wants you to discover things and doesn't tell you anything outright, it can be a turnoff for some players, even at the beginning. But its main issue is at the end. Solving the fairies to get the last pages can be such a hassle, and you may need to pull up a guide, because if not, get ready to have notes to write down the codes, or just stand there for a while looking for the solution. But the gameplay is fun. Not only did Tunic find a way to combine exploration within its story, it makes it so the gameplay can be enhanced by its story. The gameplay is fun, but you can ignore the lore, but you are heavily missing out. The environments are pretty, exploring is fun, and they even encourage speedrunning. This is a wonderful game that takes inspiration from The Legend of Zelda, but it does so many of its own things that it transforms itself into its own beast. Tunic is a wonderful time and a challenging game, so you will get your money's worth. I've never seen a game this well done to where the story, the lore elements make me want to explore and get creative. It enhances the gameplay, which is something that I don't think many games do. Like, oh my gosh, please play this game. It is one of the best games I have ever played, and everything about it is amazing, minus the puzzle solving for the best ending, which does kind of come out of nowhere and adds a difficulty spike. But even then, I love this game. That best ending doesn't matter. I'll look up a guide or I'll figure it out on my own one day. I will do those puzzles completely on my own one day because I love this game. This game is a lot of fun. I even bought the Tunic plush because look, it's adorable. Come on. But even if you use a guide, whether it is your first playthrough, second, or third, every single one is always fun. Tunic hits you with this emotion and curiosity that modern games are not doing quite right. Yet Tunic did everything to make me fall in love with it. This game should be the standard of how well a game is designed, story enhancing the gameplay. No matter what you think about indie games, this is one of the best games out there. Please play Tunic. It is such an amazing time. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. You guys have a good one and take care.